Today we shall return to the creationist objections to the theory of evolution. Creationist objection number 2. I refuse to believe the compelling evidence. This right here is a clear example of someone who has chosen to be irrational. They acknowledge that this evidence exists, but they refuse to logically infer that evolution occurred. That is called willful ignorance. It is, by definition, a choice. This is how some people can choose to believe in creationism instead of evolution. Again, I personally believe that this is an unethical choice, given that it's unethical for me to believe in creationism. This evidence is irrefutable, and it is the reason why the theory of evolution has stood up to scrutiny. If it weren't for the evidence, peer review would have demolished the theory of evolution immediately. It's not like the scientific journals were funded by any outside party, so there's absolutely no reason why the peer reviewers would intentionally avoid exploiting any holes in the evidence. The countless scientific papers that attest to evolution simply show us that there are no holes in the evidence. Creationist journals, on the other hand, don't have to be funded by outside parties because their Bible is already a source of conflict of interest. They have a vested interest in proving the literal truth of the Bible, whereas scientific journals don't have a vested interest in proving the literal truth of any book, not even Charles Darwin's Origin of Species. Rather than emotionally attach themselves to Origin of Species, the scientific journals scrutinized that book without emotional attachment to anything. If an old earth creationist just dogmatically rejects the evidence in favor of absolute, unquestioning loyalty to the Bible, then they really have chosen to be anti-scientific, and there's nothing that we skeptics can do for them except wait for them to make their own choice to finally accept the empirical evidence. Creationist objection number 3. If the theory of evolution is true, then the Holocaust was justified. If this sounds like an outlandish, ridiculous leap of logic, it's because it is. The old earth creationists who make this objection are arguing that the foundational principles of evolution are the same principles that the Nazis believed in and used to justify the Holocaust. In order to unpack this objection, here is a very brief history lesson in a Skepticism 101 video. Since Darwinism is the belief in Charles Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection, social Darwinism is the belief in social evolution by natural selection. Eugenics, on the other hand, is a form of evolution by artificial selection that tries to produce humans with desirable genes. The prefix "eu" is Greek for good, so eugenics literally means good genes. Let me give concrete examples of both social Darwinism and eugenics. First, social Darwinism. If we take a society to be a population within the human species, then it's perfectly possible for the society to evolve by natural selection. If some 20-year-old individuals are stupid enough to urinate on an electric fence, then those individuals will die out without reproducing, and the society will evolve into a population that is smart enough to know that peeing on an electric fence will kill you. Second, eugenics. We already know that our myriad of dog breeds are the result of evolution by artificial selection, but if we wanted to produce humans with right-handedness, for example, then we would pair 2 right-handed people together, and if they procreate a right-handed child, we would pair up that child with another right-handed person of the same age, and the process would keep repeating until we had a visible, quote-unquote, breed of right-handed people. Now that I've provided clear examples of social Darwinism and eugenics, it is true to say that Hitler wanted to cause both eugenics and social Darwinian evolution within Nazi Germany. He killed 6 million Jews in the hopes that German society would evolve into an Aryan population. As for the Aryans themselves, he wanted them to produce a sizable breed of blue-eyed blondes, even though he himself was brown-haired. Aryan Jewish couples forget it, but Hitler preferred for blue-eyed blondes to reproduce with each other instead of reproducing with brown-haired Aryans like himself. So yes, Hitler was inspired by both social Darwinism and eugenics, but Hitler's values do not change the fact of evolution. Just because evolution by natural selection happens in the wild does not mean that it should happen in society. And just because we forced dogs to evolve by artificial selection doesn't mean that we should force humans to evolve by artificial selection. Facts and values are completely separate realms of discourse. I might personally think that it is an ethical value to believe in facts, but the facts themselves are not values. Instead, we can adopt the ethical value of believing in non-values. In this third objection, the older creationists do not necessarily misrepresent evolution, but they do stupidly conflate evolution with Nazism. The level of how despicable I find this comparison is equal to the level of how despicable Nazism truly is. In the next Skepticism 101 video, I will finish up on the creationist objections to the theory of evolution. For now, join me as I begin an exposition of Hindu theology in History 01.